Alright, so I'm new at this. I'm just going to go ahead and skip the intro. I have a game to present you guys, which I think is very, very criminally underrated. Well, it's a game called Vigor. So, in some ways, the game is sort of like Tarkov. You sort of select your loadout at the very beginning of the match, or before you go into a match even. Then you go into a location, which changes. It allows you to go in with a team or go in solo. It allows you to ensure your loadout as well. Unlike Tarkov, the maps are pretty small in comparison. There's no enemy AI. There's only 12 other players. Well, 11, 12 including you. And there's no auction house either. The game sort of opts for a more of a crafting emphasis. Alright, once you get into the game, after some time goes by, about 10 minutes or so, an airdrop lands. This is going to be the stated gameplay goal, but you don't actually have to go for it. It is just heavily encouraged because it'll give you an airdrop, which later on will become a crate that you can open up back at the base. After a shorter period of time goes by, a radiation wave comes onto the map, and it damages all players' max HP until they extract. Once you get out, there's a metagame as well, but I will be discussing that shortly. Even when you go into this game empty-handed with no weapons, there's always the potential for you to find really good loot, and so there's still risk and reward involved, even when you're going in empty. The gameplay feels very nice. Each gun feels different, with different recoil, firing modes, and effective ranges. You can aim in first and third person. My personal recommendation is that you use third person at close range and first at mid to long ranges, but it's up to you. I do recommend that you change some settings when you get into the game right before you do anything, so you're not used to a different control scheme. Change your aim dead zone so that the minimum is less and the maximum is more. It gives you a wider range of motion on your control stick. I believe that there is weapon penetration in this game, but I've not been able to test it. It seems like there is, but I could be wrong. Semi-automatic weapons in this game feel very good, with most having pretty manageable recoil. Fully auto weapons are also really good, but you have to be good with short controlled bursts. If you're someone who just lays on it and just tries to fire a bunch of rounds all at once, it's not going to work out for you because the recoil is very much designed to not allow for that, unless you're using a weapon that is specifically designed to do that. The exception to my previous statement about most of the weapons being good is the grease gun, which I cannot for the life of me imagine a use case for. That gun is garbage, and it's way more optimal and efficient to just build another Thompson and use that instead, because they're about the same tier, and I think they cost the same or close to the same. They're both very cheap. The tiers of items feel balanced. Weapons of higher rarity are only marginally better in most cases. The exception is the special issue tier of loot, which typically has a great sight or scope, and it usually takes about one less shot to kill than other weapons of its class. And another exception is the common loot tier typically has one large drawback on a lot of the weapons. For example, take the Mosin, which takes only 2 shots to kill somebody with like a high damage of like 60 something, but it has a super slow firing rate. Consumables of higher rarity are just the more lethal ones generally, like the mine, which is not called the mine. But you know what I mean. It's like basically it's a proximity mine. The game has very loud footsteps, which I very much appreciate. A lot of games let you be a ninja. People who prefer to play like a ninja need to move really slow or crawl. The phone duels in this game are really fun. Basically, you answer a phone or you call on a phone and another player answers it, and you both reveal each other on the map to each other and only each other. In terms of audio in this game, I'm not really an audio person, so take this with a grain of salt, but the directional audio has not failed me yet. There are also some good collectible records in here as well, at least one is. I've found 2. Alright, on to the metagame. So the crates, or loot boxes if you want to call them that, are done very well in this game. I'll show them on the screen, but they sort of have like a list, like a checklist, and when you open it and you get something from that checklist, it checks that thing off so you can't get it again. Which means you're basically eventually guaranteed to get everything in the box. And when you do get everything in the box, it shuffles to create a new box. And then you just start working through that next box again. It's basically an advance notice of what you're going to get out of the loot boxes, but you will get the stuff in the loot box in random order. This allows you to feel like you're working towards something. It also allows you to feel like you're getting bonus rewards, like guns you would have never used, that you will now use because you have enough of them where it won't feel too risky to bring one into the game. The loot boxes are also only acquired via leveling rewards, challenges, or airdrops. There's no paid crates. You can't just basically, you can't just pay to win, essentially. You can't just pay to unlock a bunch of crates and then now you have like all the guns in the game or all the schematics in the game. It doesn't work like that. The game requires skill to play. You can't just unlock everything by spending loads of money. When you die in a match and you get kicked back out to the main menu, you still get whatever XP you earned, but it won't be as much as you would have if you survived, because you would have done some more things and you would have extracted, and extraction alone is worth a bunch of XP. I believe your XP gets reset every season, but I'm not 100% sure, as this is the first season that I've played. But considering that your level increases your battle pass ranking, I'm going to go ahead and assume that that's what it is. The base has its own upgrades that take materials and real-world time to build. Upgrades include the ability to craft items for cheaper or in a shorter amount of time, the ability to craft higher-tier items, the ability to craft multiple base upgrades at a time, production devices for materials like metal or food, and the list keeps going on. There's about 20 or so upgrades in the game that you can unlock. One of my favorite parts of this game is the firing range. It is right next to the main area of operations at the base, so it is a very convenient location. It is probably my favorite part about this game's presentation, because so many games screw up firing ranges by having them hid away in like an inconvenient area, or you can't use them unless you specifically queue up for firing range, and that's just lame. You can use the firing range to obviously train your aim while waiting for buildings, or while waiting for a match, or even waiting for a friend to join you. With each weapon being unique, I recommend doing a couple of range challenges before you bring that weapon into a match. So the way food works in this game is interesting. You don't actually have to like eat or consume any food during a match to survive. It's not what it's about. Food is used more as like a score in this game. You use it for donations to the donation box, which rewards you with loot crates every week, like 500 for a common, 1,000 for an uncommon, and it just keeps going up exponentially from there. When the week finishes, it gives you one of each crate that you've unlocked up to the end of the week. And then it resets the timer and it resets your food level, and then you donate food again. The donation box also has a leaderboard. For the loadout management system, all the damage values and corresponding gauges are based on a 0 to 100 scale. A 36 damage gun will take 3 shots to the chest to kill within optimal range. The headshot damage multiplier is unknown to me. I think it's probably around 250 or 300, because I know I can get a kill with a headshot with like a damage level 36 weapon. One of my other favorite things about this game is the lone wolf system. If you're playing solo and you're wanting to go into a match, and you're not afraid of going up against groups, you can turn on Lone Wolf, which will allow you to queue up with the 2 and 3 group players so that you can basically earn 20% more XP for anything you do in the match. It also grants you a few XP bonuses for doing specific activities, like looting the airdrop. The main reason I think people should play this game, though, is all of the variety it offers. There are so many things you can do. There's so many different types of gameplay. For the points of interest on the map, there's the boarded house, which you need to enter, and it's either a building or just a room in a building with boarded entrances, and it contains a safe that takes a while to crack. So you go in, you start the safe, and it alerts other players on the map that there is a safe being unlocked. And if they come to the boarded house, they can kill you and take the contents of the safe, and it oftentimes leads to a really fun combat scenario. There's also a timed safe, which is just a safe with 2 buttons to find and press, and you have to push them both in a limited amount of time in order to open the safe, and then the safe is open, and you can loot whatever's inside of it. That also alerts people that there is a safe being opened, so people do not know which building the safe that's being opened is in. They just know one of these 2 safes is being opened. There is also a shipping container that has 3 locks on it, one on the left of the door, one on the right of the door, and one on the top of the door. They can each be cracked the same way you can crack any lock in the game, which you just scroll through the numbers until your controller vibrates. You're basically just picking the lock, like a combination lock. You can also shoot them, but if you shoot them off, a mortar strike will drop, which isn't as lethal as the players that it summons will be. There's also a disruptor tower, which blocks all map icons of any other players for a short time. There's a signal tower, which reveals the location of other players at the time of interaction. Now they can move around after you use it, and it won't show you them moving. It also alerts other players that you've used a signal tower. So if they just look at the map, they can see where the signal tower is, and they can come to you. So beware that whoever you're going to go after you use the signal tower might know you're coming. There's also a comm station, which allows you to tamper with the airdrop. It allows you to do things such as change the drop location, or radiate players who are carrying the airdrop, or arm it with a bomb. There's also the phones, which I talked about earlier, so I'm not going to go over again. There's so many different types of gameplay in this game. You can choose to go in fully loaded guns blazing to steal others' loot and rack up a bunch of XP. You can be a rat, don't mind me, just sneaking over here. You can be a sniper, you can rush the signal detector and hunt down the other players. You can defend the boarded house, go for the time safe, or open up the shipping container. You can find a picture, which works sort of like a treasure map. It shows you a little picture of what you need to go to, and then there's like a little spot marked on the picture, which if you dig there, will let you loot a bunch of stuff. Like sometimes it's a full thing. Like sometimes it's literally a full inventory's worth of loot. You can use a radio to change the location of the airdrop in your favor and camp the drop spot to bait other players into going for it and then killing them, taking their loot, and taking the airdrop and then getting out. There's so many different options you have. There's also other game modes, but I'm not going to be talking about those in this video. The design of this game is also quite varied. The buildings have good layouts that are interesting and have lots of cover opportunities. However, there is a lot of reusing of assets, but it doesn't get stale because the buildings are interesting in the first place. Every map feels wholly unique and interesting to itself. There's also a chance for car alarms to go off, which always puts me in a poor situation. At least it makes me have a heart attack. At the very least, it gives me a heart attack. At the worst, it sends 6 players my way, and I have to defend myself or hide. The car alarms also appear on the map, so be careful with that. The equipable items are very unique as well. There are about 60 weapons in the game, with a few of them that feel identical. Most of those that feel identical, though, are knives, and a couple of the shotguns feel exactly the same to me. Like, no change at all. There are 16 unique tools in addition to the weapons. By tools, I mean just any consumable, any healing item, any bomb, anything like that. That includes items, booby traps, armor plates, and more. The tools make such a difference in this game that you have to think about them as if the other player has them, even if they don't. Always be aware that there might be an alarm trap in this doorway. There's so many different things you can do with these items. If you're out in the open, you might have an airstrike call on your position. This game has so much different options for opportunities for crazy, new, interesting things to happen. I give the game a personal enjoyment score of about 4 out of 5. I really enjoy this game, but I'm a little uncertain about the longevity of its enjoyment. If there wasn't a handful of technical issues, which I'm not going to be covering in this video, I believe I'm going to make a second video. Like, I'm planning on making a second video within the next week. My excitement would be at least a 4.5. Like, I really enjoyed this game, but it's got some problems. I've had an extremely first fun week. I hope it stays as fun as it is. And I think that's everything I wanted to say to you guys. I hope you all try out the game. It's free. It's on. I believe it's on PC. I know it's on Xbox. I know it's on Switch, and now it's on PlayStation 4 as well as of December 9th. This game is really good. It's really well made. I think you should give it a try. As of the title, I do think it actually is the most underrated game of this year. And I'm gonna say of this year because I'm a PlayStation player, but I believe it actually came out last year for Xbox. But yeah, of this year, most underrated game. Nobody's talking about this game. If I look it up on YouTube, the last thing that I see that pops up is like 6 months ago, except for like a few smaller channels like myself talking about it. But yeah, nobody. This game is so neglected, and I really hope it makes like I hope it gets a large following, and I hope Bohemia keeps planning on upgrading it and updating it because it has so much potential. I hope they don't just throw it away, because I really enjoy this game. I hope they add more to the buildings. I hope they make it so you can customize your base, even though that doesn't matter to anyone but you, because you're the only one that ever sees it. I hope they allow you to have other players come into your base, that kind of stuff. There's just so much you can do with this game. I hope that they add more. All right, that's everything, guys. Hope y'all have a great afternoon or evening or morning or week, whatever. Have a good year. Have a good rest of your 2020. I know that sounds kind of hard. I'll see you guys later.